SML Podcast, playing the field journey 007. Today I'm joined, and we're going to call this Southern Style, because we're with two Tennessee boys, the Duke boys, KJ and Tiny Titan. What's going on?
What's up, man?
What's
What's going on, dude? Happy to be here. First podcast ever.
It's your first time. We're taking that cherry from in. We're just going to make it something
popping
beautiful.
The cherry from KJ.
Wow. All right, we got a couple topics, and I let you guys know ahead of time, so hopefully KJ doesn't get nervous, because a lot of times people the first time they get nervous and they don't know what to say, but we're going to go ahead and start going through these topics here. If you could add any player to your team right now, just this CFM right now, if you could just pick them off another roster, rules be damned. Trade rules be damned. You're just going to get any player, you're going to add that shot to the arm that your team may need to make that playoff push or get you into the Super Bowl, that Simbardi trophy. Who you going to pick and why? Tiny, make the big explosion here.
All right, man. I got Chris Carson. That dude's been the truth this year, except for the 6 weeks he missed for some strange-ass torn labrum. I don't know why. But anyway, Derrick Henry would make my team the truth. Could you imagine with Russell Wilson throwing the passes he throws and then Derrick Henry running for what's Coop got? Like 2,000 yards in 10 games?
How many games
it's
are
ridiculous.
We're in what week right now?
We're in week 13, 14,
yeah,
I think.
You guys have played about 13 games, and here's the rushing stats from King Henry. 1,914 yards, 9.4 yards a carry with 26 tutties. Henry straight bulldozing motherfuckers, and he's moving on. And Tiny says, "Give me that man."
Right. So I would be probably 12-0. You think? 11-1 at least.
We'll take a look at the Seahawks numbers. I don't want to just stroke him off because he's on the podcast.
No, hey, Chris Carson has not been bad. That dude breaks some tackles, and he does really good. But like I said, the last 6 weeks he's been out. He came back last week, and he done very well. I think he got like 80 yards, something like that. But
yeah, your passing offense, you're 19th or 23rd with passing yards. You're 24th points per game with 24. Your rushing yards are 12th with 109, and total yards you're at 292. But like you said, Carson had 900 yards. Penny's got 295. Well, while you're here, we got to talk about the elephant in the room, and we got to cut this short. This KJ, 24 touchdowns, 31 interceptions. What in the fuck is going on with your offense right now? You're not taking care of the ball. Tiny, what's going on? Break it down for us.
My defense is good. I don't know. Question mark?
Yeah, it's definitely difficult, though, when you're not able to run the ball on a consistent basis, or if you're playing behind and you just start forcing shit. I mean, it happens, right?
Yeah, for sure, man. Like,
I don't think you get a whole lot of help out of your receiving core.
When Carson went out, that really hurt me a lot because Penny will not break a tackle. He's fast. Everybody can see that, but he just doesn't break tackles. He doesn't, do the outside runs like Henry, of course, would.
Right.
But so I just, I've had to kind of just hold it down until he got back, and he's been back the past 2 weeks, and he's been a little better, and I've won these past 2 games. So we'll see what happens, man.
KJ, if you could add one player, if you can get that HGH in a syringe and shoot it up to your team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who would you pick and why?
All right, so I really don't know. If I had to go, I really want somebody young, maybe like a quarterback, because Ben Roethlisberger is hopefully going to retire pretty soon. And I'm all about getting somebody young. So like a Herbert or a Love would be nice. But my ultimate player would still be a quarterback, and I would have to go with Patty Mahomes.
You got to have that bazooka.
Yeah.
Got to be able to chuck that thing around the field a little bit.
Chuck it around the field. That's right. I'm not so much accurate, but I feel like he would definitely help me out in the passing game because that's one of my weak spots for sure. I think it would just help me out overall because offense is where I struggle the most.
Most people do, honestly. This year, I think everyone's kind of struggling with stopping the run. I think just defense in general is difficult this year. At least for me, it is. I haven't figured out exactly how to stop a nosebleed. But, KJ, we'll stick with you, and you're going to tell us who is the best in the SML right now. Without looking at any past history, what have you done for me lately? Who's the best in the SML right now?
Honestly, I got to go Dan just because he's undefeated, and I did play him. I did play him one of the first couple games of the season, There was a couple things I didn't like about the gameplay, but it looks like he has adjusted and he has now got the run and the pass game going. So as far as regular season right now, I've got to go with Dan, but I'm still not set on his postseason performance based on the last cycle. But right now, I'm going with Dan. My sleeper, if I'm going to give you one, even though you didn't ask, I'm going to go with Graham's.
Wow. Giving Graham some love. He doesn't always get that in any of the shows or just in general in the chat. Tiny, who you picking as the best in the SML right now?
All right, so this is going to be like non-climatic or whatever, but it's exactly what KJ said. Dan looks super legit. I've played him in scrimmage games before the season started, and I think I won 2 or 3 games before, and then he beat me in the last couple games we played, and I started to notice that he was like starting to get the team, started to know how it worked out, and then I don't know, man. Dan just looks really good. He hasn't lost to anybody, of course, as you see, and but Graham's, man, I don't know. Like, I played Graham's this year in my season, and his defense was legit. Like, I couldn't do anything against him. I scored 10 points, I think, and it was really hard to score against him. And I don't know. I would love to see if Graham's and Dan played, which I think would only happen in the Super Bowl now. I'm not for sure, but that would be a very good game, I think.
You want to talk about sharing the load or spreading the wealth on offense? I think the Broncos may be the best at doing that right now. I just took a look at their receiving. Hamler, 990 yards. Sutton, 837 yards. Fant, 653 yards. Judy, 633 yards. Calais, 286 yards. All with 42, 44, 37, 31, and 25 receptions. So it's not like he's just sitting on one receiver, probably because he doesn't have an X factor out there.
So how do you know who to guard? You gotta watch the whole team.
Open.
Yep.
That was the problem when I played him. Like, I damn near had him, and he just kept finding the holes in the defense. You'd play man. That didn't really work. And he's definitely a tough guy. So it'll be interesting to see when it comes time. Because a lot of times, your OGs, the guys that have been around forever, that are consistently in the playoffs, are in there because when it matters, that's when they're really good. You know, when you look at prime QB, those type guys, when you got to play these guys in the playoffs, that's like a whole nother level, and we don't know what Dan's going to do when it comes time to put up or shut up. But I like those selections. Now, a lot of time, this is owner mode, right? So you're not just playing the games. You have to develop a team. You got to do that through free agency or letting big name contracts walk on your team or the draft. And that's what I'm talking about right now. You don't have to obviously give away all your secrets, but what's a good draft strategy or the secret to scouting? A good way of building some homegrown talent. What are some tips you guys from your years of CFM experience, or maybe just here in the SML, what would be your advice to someone that's just starting off with the CFM? Tiny, we'll go ahead and go with you.
All right, so I'm pretty new at this. Like, I never got into the offline franchise or anything, and then the first time I actually played it's been about a year and a half ago, I think, when I joined you guys, and that's when I actually got into it. So I don't really know, to be honest with you, man. Like, I just kind of sign the guys that I think I need, and then I go with it. And, like, if the guys seem like they're too expensive, I just let them go. So, I don't know, man. I hate to be not a very good answer for this, but I'm not good at this part. This is the one thing that I really suck at, is the whole, building the team and all that stuff. That's something I haven't learned how to do yet.
All right. KJ, do you have any pointers in that for your friend Tiny, or is he out without a raft here?
Well, he is out without a raft, but I am curious, Tiny. Do you even scout?
I do, but not as good. Hey, we talked about this the other day, KJ. You was over here, and we talked about our scouting, and you seen my roster.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go with what Tiny said initially, in the fact that I am fairly new to this. Season 3 or 4 last cycle was the first time I'd ever gotten any type of draft or scouting experience. I really enjoy that. Not that I'm any good at it, but I do enjoy it. the one thing that I like to look at as far as, and there's really no rhyme or reason for me, but the one thing as far as scouting, like prospects, I like to look at those guys that are predicted to be undrafted.
Mm-hmm.
Um, every draft, you're going to find somebody that is predicted to not even be drafted, and then when you run their skills and everything, there might be a second or third rounder. So I'll keep them and maybe get them in the sixth or seventh round. Uh, don't know that I can't remember that I've gotten anybody any really great, but I have gotten some guys that've gotten some good playing time last cycle. But as far as a draft, no. I mean, I look at the guys I'm not going to sign, and I try to look at those skill positions that I need to fill those spots. But the one thing I like looking at is the undrafted prospect.
It's the game within the game, and I guess I wouldn't be a good host if I didn't give out any tips because I guess in the police world, whatever type of experience and knowledge you have, you share with the guys that don't have it. And I don't know if this is good advice or not. It was advice I was given when I first started, basically in what the hell was it? Sim Gaming Community, SGC, is where Prime and I started our online CFM careers. And I don't remember who it was in there, but basically the rule of thumb was as you're clicking through the attributes in your scouting, only scout the first attribute. And if it's an A- or higher, the guy's going to be pretty good. If you click it and it's like a C or a B and lower, don't even fuck with clicking the rest of the points. You're going to waste it. His second and third attribute are not going to be better than the first attribute because the first attribute is his best attribute.
Right.
And that was the advice
Makes
that
sense.
I was given. Instead of wasting scouting points, if the guy clicked it was a B, a C plus, and then you clicked it for the third one, you were just wasting scouting points. He's going to be an average at best player when his highest attribute was a B. So maybe that's good advice. Maybe it's not. That's kind of my scouting. I wind up having the majority of guys scouted with that top attribute. Some of them all the way, some of them with half. But I just missed the drafts. But we'll go on with the next one, which would be CFM additions to Madden 22. So they, of course, always blow smoke up your ass about how they've changed the game, or this is gonna be the year we're adding back, training camps, new improved drills. Or you can add different stadiums. It's gonna be great. The CFM guys are gonna love it. And, oh yeah, fuck it, we forgot. We're gonna go ahead and send this game out, but we might patch some shit in this year. What do you guys want to see in Madden 22 in terms of the CFM? What are some things that you think they need to either add back to the game, or if you said that this is the first time you tried it, you may not know some features they had, or some stuff that you would just like to see that they have in real life that they don't have in Madden 21 right now? KJ, we start with you.
Well, some of the old features from what I've heard, because I was out of Madden for several years, but one of the old features I think would be neat to be brought back in would be some of the highlights and shows. But heck, that doesn't even cross my mind anymore with all the podcasts and the material we've got in the SML.
Right.
We don't need that anymore, really. So, but as far as what I would like to see going forward, I kind of wish the scouting was a little more in depth. I do wish the players that are to be drafted. I kind of wish the overall draft class was better in general.
Mm-hmm.
The ability things, I like that they've been toned down, so I'm okay with that right now. But probably my two top things would be it'd be neat if they could incorporate some type of training camp in the off season. And I would also number one thing would probably be scrimmages, some type of scrimmages either in the off season, throughout the season, which I know in real life you don't scrimmage teams, but something scrimmage wise as far as CFM mode.
Okay. Tiny, what about you?
Yeah, I would kind of follow KJ there. That would be nice to be able to, once every, especially in the preseason, if you could do it in between a week to where you could, play any team you want, or if there was two teams that you could agree on to play a scrimmage game,
right?
That would help out a lot because, like I said, we sit there, we tried to
COVID
scrimmage all we could. Yeah, COVID. Oh, we could try to scrimmage all we tried before the season started, but nothing feels the same as it did whenever before the season. Everything's totally different.
So I got 1 point from
feels the same.
Each of you.
Go ahead.
I don't want to cut you off. What KJ mentioned was about the videos and that type of presentation that you don't miss because the content we have. I think you got to shout out guys like Mad Bomber. I think he's the best right now in terms of podcast and video content. There's a couple guys doing various graphics, and they're all doing great jobs. So congratulations to you guys. Kudos to you guys because I could fold his laptop off, put the microphone away, not do it again, and Bomber would have us covered in terms of video content. So he's doing a great job. And I just want to say that. And then what Tiny pointed out in terms of scrimmage, if they can't do that, a good alternative, I think also that would just be nice to have in general, would be a download CFM roster function where you can download your roster to the CFM and then use it to scrimmage like in Play Now versus your friend mode or whatever. That way you can really get used to the players that you've got. And maybe I'm in the minority in that, but I think it'd be kind of cool to play online with your roster or just fuck around with it in practice mode, or which I guess you can on normal CFM, but they've got the gauntlet or whatever. I think that'd be neat to be able to use it in some of those other game modes. So
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a couple of easy things they could do, or what I think would be easy, but it's EA.
You're definitely not in the minority as far as the downloading the CFM rosters. I think that's something that everybody wants because you can't really practice. You just don't get the practice that you should be able to do in the franchise mode.
No,
Yep,
you never play enough games.
And you got to get like the first game of the season is like just kind of like the NFL was this year. Like the first game of the year, like what did you expect from your favorite
It's your
team?
tune-up game.
You don't know, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the next topic is something that I suggested. I think it was even back. I don't know if I was on a podcast with the Raider, but I talked about an SML meet and greet a long time ago, and then it was suggested. I thought Nashville would be a pretty good central, not necessarily central location, but central for me because I don't want to drive or fly that far, and I think that it's just an interesting city, somewhere I haven't been, and in terms of weather, it's not terribly cold or anything like that, regardless the type of year. Would that be something you guys would be down for? Because I know you're right there, or would you prefer to go to another location?
Who you got first?
You can go ahead and take it, Tony.
All right. Well, Nashville's fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I would say it's very central location compared to most people in the league. Like I don't know for the guys. Like I don't know if there's anybody in California or somewhere real far out. But other than that, man, like of course with COVID going on and everything, like there's not a whole lot you can do. But
Right.
I think if we all met up there in Nashville, we could go hang out at some places there in town, and there's several things to do there in Nashville. Other than that, man, like I said, with COVID, it's hard to tell right now, man. It's very hard to tell what you can do at any city. But like, for example, if you wanted to go to like New York City, that's not happening right now.
No.
Like, I mean, you could, but like you're not going to do anything up there.
I have no
in
desire to
Nashville,
ever
like
go to New York
they at
City.
least try to let people do stuff they want to do. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. KJ, what do you think? Would you want to stay somewhere in Nashville, or is there somewhere else that you'd want to branch out and spread your little wings and pop your cherry somewhere else?
Well, for the SML, I think Nashville is the perfect place. Well, maybe not perfect, but I think it is a great idea. And kudos to you if you are indeed the one that brought that up and mentioned it, because I think for most of the SML, Nashville is fairly centralized.
Yeah.
Outside of maybe, but for most people, I think everybody's in the south or the north or along the East Coast. I think Nashville's a great spot. If we didn't go to Nashville, though, I think some type of beach area, anywhere along the beach. I don't care. It don't have to be a big city. It can be somewhere small.
Go Charleston.
Yeah, I don't care. Beach area would be nice, but I do think overall Nashville, you can't go wrong with that. I really hope that it happens. I hope this whole pandemic stuff kind of calms down before then, and it can still happen, because I'm really looking forward to meeting every member, even though I know only half the league might make it. But I'm actually pumped about the meet and greet if it does happen. And I will, even if it doesn't happen in Nashville, I will travel. Not sure about what the wife will think about that. She can travel with. That's part of it. So, but I'm definitely down and looking forward to this meet and greet.
So you guys both brought up the China virus, and that's kind of the last topic I wanted to talk about, kind of real life perspective. The NFL season of COVID, a lot of players coming down with COVIDs, A lot of players have a lot of games getting shifted around. I think we got a Tuesday night game this week coming up now. Just what I feel like the odds of this NFL season getting played out in its totality is not very likely right now. I feel like something's either they're gonna have to cut it short or restart it sometime, or they may just say to hell with it. The season is done and we'll pick it up next year or whatever. But I just feel like there's just too many players that are catching COVID, and Pat McAfee talked about it. You can't really do a bubble like the NBA or NHL or MLB because most of those, like counting all their massage parlor, tug jobs, and everybody that they have on their payroll, that's only maybe 50 guys. In a typical NFL roster is 53, and then when you add the ball boys, this, that, and the other, you probably got 150 people that you've got to stack up in a hotel. It's just or more. All the interns and everything else. The NFL organizations are so much larger than the rest of sports. Do you guys see the season playing out, or do you think it's going to cancel? KJ, give us some reality here, bud.
Oh, Field, you cracked me up. No, I agree with you 100%. I tried thinking of how a bubble could even work. Of course, now at this point in the season, I think it's out of reach. And like you said, it's probably almost impossible with the amount of personnel with each team to try to do some type of bubble. But I'm actually a little nervous. I don't think I kind of agree with you. I'd be very surprised if it gets played out in its entirety. The whole forfeits, losing draft picks. So what are we going to get? About half of a draft class that's undrafted that has to be picked up in free agency. Forfeits. Right. There's definitely going to be some type of asterisk on this season, and I would be very surprised if we make it 17 weeks plus the playoffs and get this finished out. No doubt, I really hope it does. But the way it's going, starting out with the Titans, honestly, I'm glad it's spread, but I'm glad we're not the only team that it's been affected by, even though it started with us and it seems to not be never ending right now. I'd be very surprised if it goes forward, but yeah, it's just it's crazy. Never experienced anything like this.
Tiny.
All right, so I'm going to be the opposite of Mr. KJ over there. But
Optimist.
The NFL is going to push through, man. There's nothing to be stopped short. They're going to play their games. They're going to move around what they have to. If players got to sit, they got to sit. If they got the flu, they can't play.
Right.
But if they've got the COVID, they can't play. Play your games. We'll go on. It'll be, every week we'll probably have something screwed up where there's going to be a game moved or whatever. But as you can tell, I mean, we got a freaking Tuesday game this week. So tell me they're not trying to make it work. They're going to make it work. The NFL moves on more than any other league. They're not going to get all woke like all these other leagues where they think they got to get in a bubble. And the NFL can't get in a bubble, by the way. If anybody thinks they can, I just do not see it. They're going to play their games. It's going to go on. And, by the way, the Titans, I'm not going to have much hope for them this week because they got, half their players? But
yeah. How do you play?
They just got to go with it, man. It's just that's what it is.
I can play devil's advocate on Tiny's part because at a small scale, the NFL did push on at one point in time in its history. 1987 was the replacement season where the players had I think it was players and coaches, they had a strike. It was for just a few weeks. And there's a guy that played quarterback where I went to high school, and he played for an NFL team. He wound up starting for the NFL team. And so they're just going to grab any Tom, Dick, or Jane that can pass a COVID test and knows what a football looks like. And, throw the ball. I'm going to throw it over the mountain, Uncle Buck.
Hey, man, NFL is king. They're going to keep going no matter what. I guarantee
too much money out. You're probably right in the ass, but there's too much money to lose to suspend the season. So, fuck it. Well, the quality may go down, but we must go on.
The only league that has, lost viewership this whole time throughout all this stuff is the NBA.
Yeah, the NFL's went down to an extent, but not to the detriment that the NBA has, and that's not because of COVID. That's because of
when it's being played.
Well,
the NBA is not used to being played in the middle of October. You know
no,
what
it's
I mean?
not.
Like,
I think maybe you're right in that aspect. Well, the NBA does start though. Normally around Halloween is normally
Yeah.
tip off, so it started a little early, but it was pretty much just a few regular season games and then the bubble, the playoffs. So I feel like though, more or less, what's turned a lot of people off is just the players' personal beliefs and the way that they're constantly smattered and the media and the things that they say. I think it's kind of having a correlation to the declining of the NBA views, and there's plenty of articles and statistics that I could post that would correlate and show that belief. But I'm going to get off here. We're going to wrap this show up because I know this part's at 22 minutes, and I think before KJ dropped off, we had a good 5 or 6 minutes before that, so we're nearing half an hour. My WTF player, the call out, if you wanted to call a guy out, I was just kind of looking at some fun stats here. Joey Burrow, the guy that sat and had a stogie right there during the national championship. Terrible two-step. SML OG, we're calling you out. 40 interceptions. You're the league leader in interceptions right now. Jesus Christ. 40 interceptions for Joey Burrow. He's got to get those down. Got to get those down. And let me ask you this one more time. I'm going to look right in the camera. Got to get those down. Not good enough. Not fucking good enough, terrible two-step. You gotta fix it. You got Joey Burrow. The kid's a legend. Second pick overall. 40 interceptions. Anyway, terrible two-step I figured out because he is an OG. He's normally used to getting the Cowboys, but Grams went ahead and broke a dick off in his ass and took his team. Dirty. But anyway, we appreciate you guys all tuning in. Check us out, daddyleagues.com, simmaddenleague.com, daddyleagues.com/USML. Don't think there are any members in the primer that are available because last time I heard we had a waiting list. And check this out. This will be going on the YouTube premiere thing where I'll be back in the chat commenting with you guys. We can carry on some stupid stuff or whatever you guys want to dispute. Appreciate you all tuning in. Check us out. Zazzle, I got a store. I put a little thong on for Coach Paulie. You guys are the OGs for staying on this long. Have a great night. Be safe out there. Love you.